everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and I can't tell you how long I've wanted to be able to film a video just sitting on a bar stool. I feel like a bar stool in front of like a black background, just a real dark, moody background. I feel like that would add so much to a video. I want to share with you guys a story about one of the worst places that I ever stayed after prison. It was a room that I rented, and it was so crazy because this would actually turn into one of the most insane, I want to try to do a close-up, but I got to come way up here for that. Interrogations. It's so dark, and I've got it on 8,000 ISO. Interrogations. Of my life. I hope I ain't got dog shit. Now, nobody's probably wondering to themselves, Joe, how did you rent a place? How did you rent a room? How were you in a room for rent and that turned into an interrogation? Folks, it couldn't have turned into anything other than that. I mean, we are talking about old Joe after all, where shit usually ends up going pretty wrong. But yeah, this was a really crazy time in my life. Ironically, I've passed by this place that I rented, this room for rent, a few different times. I actually pass it whenever I'm going to visit my father. It's right there on the way, right off of the old main road in the middle of nowhere. It's so hot in here. Oh, I got a vent right above my head. Hopefully I don't got any armpit sweat. I've been using clinical deodorant, and it's not working. I'll never forget this time in my life when I was renting this room. It was the time when I had to rent a room. It was after I came home from prison the very first time, and that very first time that I came home, I would end up going and living with my father. Now, me and my father's relationship had been very rocky. Up until this point, it would only continue to get even more rocky after I got released. And the reason for that was because I just couldn't stay out of trouble. I don't know what it was about me and trouble, but it was like a magnetized thing. We both always used to just end up together. Old Joe in trouble. Almost sounds like a prison nickname right there. But my father was going to give me this one final chance, and he did. I went and lived with him, and it wasn't maybe 5 months. I don't even think it was that long. I came home in February, and it was by July the 4th, never forget this, that my father was kicking me out. The end of February at that. I think it was February 26th or 27th, one of those 2 days, I was getting released from prison for the very first time. March, April, May, June, July. 5 months, how long I lasted. My father would end up kicking me out, and I would be homeless. I would have nowhere to go. I was working, but I wasn't really making any money at the job that I had. I think I was making $250 a week. Yeah, I couldn't survive on that. I was selling the devil's lettuce at this time as well, and that was part of the reason why, actually that was the entire reason why my father kicked me out, because he found out about that. I was also doing drugs during this time as well, so I was just all sorts of in the way and up to no good. But I would end up being homeless. I would sleep on the couch of somebody's. I can't even remember who this person was, for a very short amount of time. And while at work, I was looking through the local newspaper. And mind you, where I was living at this time was in a little country bumpkin type of a town. There wasn't a lot of job opportunities here. There wasn't a lot of housing opportunities here. Like, there just was not a lot of opportunities, especially for a guy with a criminal record, no work experience, no driver's license. Had a lot of things stacked against me back in 2008. Oh, and by the way, we were on the cusp of a recession. I like to believe it was the recession that sent me back to prison for the second time, but I'm not going to sit here and justify. It was just ironic they both happened right then and there. I was at work one day and I was looking through this local newspaper, and I would find a room for rent, an ad for a room for rent, and the room was only $80 a week. Folks, this was like a dream come true. Making $250 a week, I can't support myself on that, but if I can pay $80 a week for a room, well, maybe I can. I would respond to this ad. I would go over to this place to meet with this woman who had this room for rent. And lo and behold, little did I know until I got over there that this wasn't just a room for rent. This was a boarding house damn near, a men's home up inside of a mobile home, a double wide at that. I go over here, I meet with this woman. You know, she was a nice enough woman in the beginning at least. And if I tried to explain to you guys, like, you know, who she reminded me of, she kind of reminded me of that woman from that movie Misery. Kind of reminded me of that. And, you know, as I think about this story, it just gets more and more crazy. Oh, my God. Wait until, all right. There was nothing too out of the ordinary at first. Folks, this thing opens up like the beginning of a horror movie. Maybe the beginning of episode 1 American Horror Story. Something along those lines. I go over there, I meet with this woman. She's nice enough. Nothing seems too crazy except for the fact that there's little notes, little house notes all over the place. Don't touch this, don't do that. Don't have no company, don't have no guests, don't have no girls over here. I had a big problem with that at the time. But what was I going to do? Beggars could not be choosy. I needed a place to stay. I would also realize during this time, like initially first getting over to this place, that, you know, she had a bunch of other guys living there as well. I don't know how many bedrooms this trailer had, but it must have had at least 4 bedrooms on our side, and then the other side of the trailer was like her side. And you weren't allowed to go on her side. We had like our own little kitchenette. We had 1 bathroom that was divided between 4 bedrooms. One guy that lived there looked like he had the bad type of charges. Another guy, I don't really remember much of him. Another room would be like the come and go room. Guys who would only last like a week or 2 weeks before they either got kicked out or moved on. And then there was my room. And I probably stayed at this place for a couple of months, maybe like 2-3 months max. So, you know, when you begin to live with somebody that you don't know anything about, after a very little bit of time, certain traits about that person will come to light and come to the surface, and you'll start to realize the type of person that you're dealing with. Now, mind you, this woman was nice enough, but she was extremely nosy. And one particular reason why I can say that, and one example that I can give to you guys is, you know, during this time, initially first moving in with her, I am trying my damnedest to not fall completely back into my old ways. Was I doing drugs in her house? I think that I was. God, Joe was scum of the earth back then, but I wasn't doing them all the time. Maybe every once in a blue moon. I was a recreational user back during these days, if there is such a thing. But I want to say initially, I really tried to get my shit together. I didn't want to be staying here. I was embarrassed by this place. Like, I couldn't bring anybody over. I couldn't have company. I used to have to lie about where I lived. Like, this really sucked. But when I first moved into this place, I had a vehicle. Now, I didn't have a license, but I had a vehicle. I had a little $500 1991 Honda Civic hatchback. I wouldn't even drive this car to work. I would only drive this car doing, well, bad things, making little deals and going to get stuff. But I'll never forget one day after work, I was driving the car. I was going to GameStop to buy a video game. I got pulled over by a state police. I wanted to run. I didn't run. I almost ran. And lo and behold, the dude would only end up giving me a ticket. A driving without a license ticket, 4th offense, I think it was at that time. Could have taken me to jail right then and there, but he did. Well, it wasn't, you know, the next week when this woman was asking me who I was renting the room from. Joey, don't you call me that? Only my mother calls me that. You ain't get arrested, did you? I mean, I seen that you got pulled over and you got a fresh charge of driving on suspended license, 4th offense. How many times you gonna drive without a license and get caught? I didn't really like this line of questioning coming from this misery-strucken woman, but I had to let it go. She was my landlord at the time. So I didn't like that. She was super nosy. Very uncomfortable situation talking about that. For whatever reason, I don't even know why. I think she was kind of trying to hint to the fact that, like, yo, I might be needing to kick you up out of here or something along those lines. Now, one thing that I didn't mention, and how am I going to try to bring this up? I had this hustle back in the day. Back during this time, one of the ways that I would try to make additional money was through fake mushrooms. Now, I was able to get these fake mushrooms at the local Chinese market or Asian market, and these things would sell. Oh my God, these things would sell. And I was so bad for this. God, I was so bad for this. But this was my bread and butter when times were extremely tough. I used to also say during this time with the mushrooms, if they look real, smell real, taste real, well, to some people they will be real. It's all a mind thing, even if they're not real at all. And I used to make money. Sometimes I would make good money selling these as hallucinogenic mushrooms, even though they weren't. They were fake. They were bunk. They were whatever you want to call it. This would lead to problems for me. Man, I got a million stories about the mushrooms. God, I got a million stories. This is going to be the first one that I've ever shared ever. 10,000 likes on this video and I'll do a 20-day shroom story marathon. And you will not be disappointed. You might be, but there were some crazy times. My God, some crazy times. When I was living with this woman and I wasn't making a lot of money and I was tricking money up, going to the bars. Back then I was going to the bars a lot, trying to act like I was something that I wasn't, a guy with money. And, I got my little beater car, just shouldn't have been driving it no matter what. Got pulled over, there's that. But anyways, I would end up going to get these mushrooms. Now, when I go get the mushrooms, I go to the store, I buy them. And I've got them all in a shopping bag, like a plastic grocery bag. And it's got a big yellow smiley face on the bag. I never bagged these things up. Hell, I didn't even do anything with these mushrooms during this time. I just had them. I guess maybe they could have been a backup plan or something along those lines. Matter of fact, that's exactly what they were. They were a backup plan. I got these mushrooms in this woman's house, in a drawer, in a dresser. And I mean, there's no scales, there's no baggies, there's no eighths or halves or nothing. They're just all in one bag. And I've read something, and I don't know if this is true or not, but even with real hallucinogenic mushrooms, so long as you don't have those bagged up, you can have 20 pounds of them just sitting on your floorboard of your car, and so long as they're not bagged up, they don't become a controlled substance until they are. So they're not even illegal until you put mushroom to baggie to scale or something along those lines. I don't necessarily know if that's true or not. If anybody knows, please comment and let me know. I would end up moving out of this woman's house. There would be a straw that broke the camel's back, and that was me bringing over a guest. I had a guest over, and I was allowed to have guests over. They just weren't allowed to spend the night, and this particular guest, this landlord didn't like. Because of their color. No bullshit, that's the truth. She didn't like this person and she, made a comment, whatever. And it was just a really messed up situation. I would end up moving out, not because of that entirely, but that was a good part of it. The fact that I couldn't have company as it was, and then you're going to offend company that I have. I didn't like that at all. I moved out. When I moved out, maybe it was under ill will or something along those lines. And one other thing that I've got to mention, I'm horrible at telling this story for some reason. This is such a good story. Though I couldn't have guests over there, and it might be because we're in this new location and I'm still trying to get comfortable. I'm sitting on a stool like I want to. How many times are you going to cross your legs in this video, Joe? I don't know, but it just feels right. One other thing I forgot to mention, I'm moving around on this bar stool. This thing is hard as hell. Ain't like my gaming chair. It's going to give me some hemorrhoids. This landlord / misery bitch, she had a daughter. And mind you, during this time, I think I was 25 or 26 during this time. So this was decades ago. A decade ago at the very least. She had a daughter that she really wanted me to connect with. That she really wanted to set up this kind of like a blind date, like a blind relationship with. And I gotta be honest with you, I'm not a shallow person or superficial or anything like that, but this chick's daughter looked like Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. She did sheetrock for a living. She was a construction worker. And look, men and women, you can do construction work. But this chick looked like Pat from Mad TV or Saturday Night Live. I don't even know. She was just fugly. I mean, fugly. And Joe weren't going for that. I mean, Joe would go for a lot of things. Hell, maybe, look, Joe ain't going for that. Okay, I don't give a, am I gonna get a week rent free? And I think she was even trying to laugh and joke about things like that. My daughter, she's single. Your daughter looks like a guy. okay? She looks like she works for the union. Like, I'm not messing with that. I've been to prison already. And I'm probably going back. I didn't know it at the time, but I was. My daughter's single. She could use a good man in her life. I'm not even a good man. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not. Am I going to get some free rent around here? I am. Well, I am single. Fugly. Not only was her daughter fugly, her daughter looked like a porta-john, for God's sakes. I mean, I'm just trying to give you guys descriptive terminology here. I'm trying to really paint this picture for you. She looked like a dirty porta-john. She also had this yapping-ass, napping-ass dog that I couldn't stand. Dog was this big. Every time it came over, it's just an ankle biter. Dog's a good judge of character, they say. This thing barked at me all day long. Tell your mom I'm not a good guy. Like, get away from me. I don't even want you hanging out with me. And every time she would come over, she'd come and knocking on my door. Hey, Joe. That's how she talked, too. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe. Hey, Joe, you in there? If you don't get your old Barney Fife ass away from my door, it possibly was bad terms that I left up under. Well, I would move out, I would move on, and when I say move on, I would move on to continuing to be up to no good. And this would actually be very close to when I would end up getting locked up to go do the 7 years in prison that I would do. But anyways, during this time when I moved out, I would end up going to court for that driving on suspended license, 4th offense, and I would end up getting sentenced to weekends. I got sentenced to weekends, so all I had to do was go and do community service. I didn't even have to spend time in the jail. It was crazy. You go check into the jail, you do community service Saturday and Sunday. There was a guy that was doing like 3 years of weekends. Supposedly he was this big snitch dude. I mean, it made sense. But anyways, while we were doing the weekends, it was pretty laid back for the most part. You know, you got a bunch of riff-raff dudes doing the weekends with you, maybe a chick or two. But anyways, this one day, we were doing the work. There wasn't a lot of work to do, so we were just hanging out in the van. You got the deputy, he's asleep in the van. Everybody's just kicked back. Can I do this yet? Do I still got the armpits? Everybody's just kicked back in the van when the deputy says, "Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, when we get done today, the police, they want to talk with one of you." I wasn't thinking nothing about this. Everybody was like, "Damn, the police. What y'all done did? What y'all done did? Who did what? Who did that?" But this guy, who I guess I was relatively cool with, he's cool whip. He said, "Hey, Joe, I bet you it's you the cops want to talk to." I almost punched this guy right in his shit, dead in his face. Bing! What'd you say that for? Why you even say something like that? That's like jinxing a missed field goal on a guy. They ain't gonna make that kick. My response would be, yo, they don't want to talk to me. I ain't doing nothing. I'm here doing my weekends with you. Not you, with you. Gesundheit. As we were leaving, you got to check out of the jail. So the van pulls up in front of the jail. They got the clipboard out there. They call each person's name one by one. You go sign, and then you're gone. Well, as we pulled up to the jail, the police station's right there, so the cop comes out. He's standing right there. And they call the first name. They sign their name. They leave. The second person sign their name. They leave. Cop ain't doing nothing. Third person, fourth person, fifth person, sixth person, Joe person. They called my name. Guerrero. It's Guerrero. Guerrero. I sign my name. I go to turn around and walk away, and the cop says, "Hey, you! I need to talk to you." Damn it! Why me? Can I ever catch a break? I'm not even doing anything. I'm here doing my weekends. I would end up in an interrogation room. This would not be my first time in life in an interrogation room, but it's not like I've been in there all that often. However, this would be the best time, the craziest time that I was ever in an interrogation room. And really, like if you say that, yo, let me tell you about the craziest time I was in an interrogation room, that usually means that you've been in there more than once. But one thing you gotta keep in mind is, anytime you're in an interrogation room, it's gonna be crazy. So if you've got the craziest story, you've been up to no good for a long time in life. And I'm getting ready to tell you guys about the craziest time I was in an interrogation room. They put me in this interrogation room and they immediately start asking me questions. Oh, and mind you, I got no idea why I'm in here. I got no idea whatsoever. But they put me in this interrogation room and they immediately start asking me questions about this misery woman that I was living with. Do you know such and such? Yeah, I know exactly who that is. You used to live there, right? Yeah, I used to live there. They wouldn't spend too long before they would get to the point, and the point was that bag of mushrooms in that shopper's bag with the smiley face on it, the big yellow one. Well, they found that. And they also found a shopping list with high pressure sodium light bulbs, carbon scrubbers, and all sorts of, and they knew what that was. They knew that that was a marijuana grow operation that, I was taking some notes on. So they asked me about the list first, and I said, I don't know. I was just trying to do a science project. Hell, I don't know. I was going to grow some tomatoes. I think that's what I said. So then they said, well, let's talk about what was in that bag in that dresser. I said, oh, this is bad. This is probably bad right here. But I was thinking quickly on my feet, and I was like, well, I haven't done anything with those. Well, I haven't done anything with those, so I'm not really worried about this at all. And I said immediately, oh, those mushrooms, those shiitake mushrooms that you found, the dried out ones? They said, yeah, the shrooms we found. I said, those are not shrooms. Are you a DEA agent? Those are not shrooms. You're a beat cop, ain't you? You're like a deputy. You're not even a cop. Oh, this dude was getting stupid mad. Not super mad, stupid mad. And he was like, yo, I got a friend in the DEA and he is going to be dying to meet you. I said, whoa, pump the brakes. Joe was feeling it. It was almost like being a trial lawyer. Like, I would imagine a trial lawyer, you know if you're winning the case, you know if you're losing the case. Well, I was the trial lawyer and I was winning. I'm dealing with Deputy Dookie Stain right here. I mean, this dude is not very smart. And also not very, well, he's just not very smart. I said, dude, let me save you some embarrassment. I said, what you don't want to do is you don't want to send those to your buddy in the DEA and those things come back as completely legit shiitake. Shitty old shiitakes. That's all they are. I don't know what you think that they are. What do you think that they are? What do you think I'm a drug dealer? Oh my God. Have you seen my rap sheet? I'm horrible at that. Drug addict, maybe more so that. The cop was kind of baffled by all that he was learning about this situation, and he asked me, he said, well, why do you have the mushrooms in a bag? I said, because I'm a weird son of a bitch. I'm weird. I like to put my shiitakes in a bag, and I like to eat them right out of my dresser drawer, right out of my sock drawer. They kind of smell like dirty socks, so I like to put them right there with the socks. What the does it matter where they're at or why I do what I do with them? The fact of the matter is, you think you got something that you don't. This woman who I was renting a room from put you up on this. Who did she think that I was? George Young? This isn't blow. You're not Diego. That makes no sense at all. But what I'm trying to say is, you got the wrong guy. I mean, what did I do? I crossed an imaginary line with some plants. Can I go? By the time it was all said and done, they would end up taking my phone number, telling me they were going to be keeping tabs on me. Don't really know what that meant. I would end up smashing that phone as soon as I left, going and getting another burner phone, and then it would only be a month or two later before I would be locked up on my way to prison. You know, there's certain signs in your life that you might need to make a change. And maybe when I was sitting in that interrogation room, even though they didn't have anything on me and they thought that they did, that should have been a major sign for me to straighten up and fly right. But if I had done that, we would never be where we are right now. And I don't think, I probably would have ended up a lot worse. I wanted to share this story with you guys. Oh, and real quick, that was it. The end. Crazy situation, how it all started out with a room that I was renting and it led to an interrogation that turned into nothing, but I guess it could have been a hell of a lot worse. You know, when you come home from prison and you're just not doing the right thing, well, the wrong thing will certainly find you a lot easier than the right thing will. Because if you're doing the right thing, even though that might be a lot harder, eventually the right thing will find you. Opportunities, doors opening. If you're doing the wrong thing, the only doors that's going to be open for you is them prison doors. So yeah, just wanted to share this story with you guys, and I hope that this was one that you enjoyed. I've got a lot more that I want to share with you guys in relation to coming home and places where guys choose to live. A lot more stories about that. A lot more stories about the shrooms as well. So I look forward to sharing all of that with you guys in the near future. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and a comment on this, letting me know exactly what you thought about this. And as always, until next time, enjoy life, the free world, never take a moment for granted, and make the most of every day. Peace!